But what did they do? They didn't set up the fact that the world is about normies. If y'all were gonna rip off music, why didn't you just rip off the opening number from Beauty and the Beast, which did what this opening number should have done, which is to say, "Oh, bonjour, look at all these fucking normies running around everywhere. You know what we don't like in this town? Freaks! Boom! I fixed your movie, Disney! Like, you've already done it, Disney! What the fuck are you playing at?
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm a circus elephant.
Oh my god. And this week, we talk about the P.T. Barnum revisionist history musical, The Greatest Showman. Before we forget our children's birthdays and neglect our wives, remember you can help us on Mortify the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
How did you like the movie?
So, I try in my everyday life not to actively dislike things. I try very hard that if I don't like something, I just put it down and I walk away. But there are 3 movies that I actively dislike. One is The Great Gatsby, 2012. Hate that movie. It's my most hated movie I've ever seen. The second one
We'll have to
is
watch
Aladdin
that sometime.
2019. Oh, fuck that movie so hard. But yeah, sure. We'll rewatch it.
Oh,
Second one is Aladdin 2019. And I believe the third one is The Greatest Showman.
Okay, so I'm glad we've made it onto your auspicious list here. It's very exciting. Making Mortified history already, right there at the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to try to do the summary, or should I?
Well, you're choking, so I guess I can take it. The Greatest Showman is as you said in the intro, revisionist musical about P.T. Barnum, who is a real man that existed and had a real quote-unquote freak show and was a bad person. And in this one, we're supposed to like him, though the movie gives us no reason to. And it's about him not only founding his American Museum, which is where he had a bunch of curiosities, but then eventually how that museum became a circus, which is the Barnum Circus.
The Wikipedia describes it as a human zoo.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And you know what's that aspect of it wasn't even the worst part of this goddamn movie. So that's Zac Efron's there. That was nice.
Zendaya's there too. And Hugh Jackman as the leading man, so it's got a lot of stars.
Yes, it does.
So last night I watched this film with my wife.
You put your wife through this.
She asked to. I warned her ahead of time, but she was determined to not let me watch this alone, for which I'm grateful. And about every 30 minutes, I would check my watch to see how much was left in the movie, and it got increasingly shorter, the intervals at which I was checking my watch, and it seemed like the movie was adding time every single time I checked my watch. And not only that, but I had to begin watching it through my fingers because I was so physically in pain trying to consume this media, because there are so many cringeworthy moments, so many bad lines, so many questionable performances, so many capital C choices. It was hard to digest.
Yeah, I would like to segue into our usual character rundown with the first choice that bothered me, capital C choice. Hugh Jackman wouldn't close his fucking mouth. Did you notice that? In
Okay.
every single scene, he just, like, was inviting a fly to come fly down his windpipe. Like, his mouth was never fully closed. And I disliked this movie so much that that's the level of detail that I started to notice. I couldn't be distracted by the movie long enough not to notice the fact that Hugh Jackman wasn't closing his mouth ever.
Okay, so we are going to be referencing Jenny Nicholson, the YouTuber's video, probably throughout this episode. So definitely go watch her video. I think it's titled "The I Hate the Greatest Showman More with Every Moment" or something like that. But she points out this as well, Leyla, and she theorizes that it's because he's so happy to be in a musical that he just isn't aware that he's making this lopsided grin the whole time because he's just so psyched. And I love that theory. And I mean, it's true, right? Hugh Jackman, like after his, many performances as Wolverine, uh, has just like done musical shit once he got paid, and like I love that for him. And like my understanding that is that he's an okay, like he's like I mean, he's performed on Broadway, so like he's apparently good enough to do that. I don't know what happened here, but yeah, I just, you know what, if you, Mr. Jackman, if you're having a good time, Godspeed, God bless you. I won't say you're doing amazing, but I'm glad you're happy.
That's the thing, though, right? Is Hugh Jackman is visibly having a great time. And usually, when actors have a great time, visibly, such as the Death Note movie that I am still going to try to make you watch, you will fucking watch the Netflix Death Note movie, because L is the only actor in there that is having fun. That usually delights me. I enjoyed that performance because that young man was having fun. I usually really like Hugh Jackman in things. I like his Broadway career. I love that he loves musicals. I love musicals. But even this fictional P.T. Barnum is a bad person and not fun to watch.
Even if he doesn't actively kidnap people and purchase their livelihoods, he was still, like, the character they wrote was still bad. He was still a bad guy.
He forgets his daughter's birthday, and when he gets reminded of his daughter's birthday, makes her a great value disco ball out of a candle and, like, a lampshade, which they keep is, like, supposed to be a memento throughout the movie. What are you doing? So that happens. He never asks his wife for permission to do any of his crazy stunts at all. He doesn't consult her about their, like, mutual assets at all. And I was like, there was never a point of relief clearer for me than when at the end of the movie she goes, I never minded the risk, but at least we were always in it together, because he didn't ask her about taking out a loan that fucking bankrupted them. I was like, finally somebody acknowledges this financial abuse that's happening. What else did he do? He, the way he tries to get Letty, the bearded lady, into his show is he, like, finds her at work. He goes where he's not supposed to go to find her at work, where she's, like, a laundress and she's singing. And he just stands there and goes, you're beautiful. And I'm like, bitch, she doesn't need your validation, only to later shut the door in her face after his, the people in his show were made him famous enough to get, like, an actual singer. He didn't let them come to the fucking party. What? Like, yeah. This fictional P.T. Barnum. Oh, and how could I forget? When his actors are being hate crimed outside of his fucking door, what does he do? But he opens the door and goes, hey! That's enough. Like, wow, hero! Somebody give him a medal! Standing up for the marginalized. What a fucking champion for the movement! Yes! Give us nothing! Give us nothing! Like, what do you... Who... What? I hate him. I hated watching him. I honestly, maybe credit to Hugh Jackman, because I forgot it was Hugh Jackman. And I just started hating fictional P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid take, though. like if Jackman is able to disappear into this bad character well enough, I mean, more power to him. Um, we didn't even get into the he almost cheats on his wife
Oh my god,
zone,
he
but we'll
almost
get
cheats
there
on
with
his
Jenny
wife.
Lind. We should talk about Charity real quick. The whole conflict in this film is that like so P.T. Barnum is in love with this girl, Charity, but she comes from a rich family. He's this tailor's son. So like he's always like trying to romance her. And like throughout the film, we see their romance develop. Well, we we see their courtship, which like starts when they're both 10, and like, when he's 25, he marries her. But like there's a 10-minute song called A Million Dreams where they go through his evolution where he starts as this 10-year-old boy and like he, is sending letters to Charity's finishing school
Is he
and
supposed to know
he's
how to write?
apparently yes.
He's a little broke Victorian homeless boy.
Literally Victorian because they go meet the Queen Victoria at one point.
No, that's a whole separate discussion. Do not bring that
Okay,
scene
all
into
right. All right,
we
we'll
have
talk
to
about
talk about
Victoria in a sec.
And then where the fuck is she sending the letters back? He doesn't have an address.
Dear postman, there is a little skinny trash child. Bring this to him. You'll know the one. Sincerely, Charity. It's great. Um, yeah, anyway, so they're sending these letters back and forth, and then all of a sudden they're both grown up. There was no like in the Lion King, right? They have that stage where Simba is baby Simba, and then like teen Simba, and then adult Simba. They skip the teen Simba zone, and they just go straight to fucking 50-year-old Hugh Jackman, which is awesome, and I love. He's like, it only took me 25 years to get here, but I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to marry you. It's like, sir, I know you didn't go to school, but you gotta know that you're not 25. You gotta learn some counting along the way, brother. Um, it's great. And like the whole conflict is that like you said, right? They're trying to make their way in the world. They're trying to be rich, and like P.T. Barnum's whole deal is like he wants to be rich enough to impress Charity's family and like be respected because he didn't come from anything. Um, and like pretty soon after that, like we're introduced to their daughters, who I do not know their names of. One of them does ballet. Um, that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're fine. They do some really wild exposition or business advice at one point. They're like,
They give
"Hey,
him a
Dad."
whole crash marketing course, and I don't understand where. And the writers try to like cover it up in this really weird way, where like we don't know how children talk, but then one of the girls is like, "You need something." What the fuck is the word that she uses? Sensational. You need. You need something sensational. You need something alive. And then the way they cover up the fact that these two little girls don't sound like little girls is they're like, Hugh Jackman's like, oh, sensational, where did you learn that word? And then it goes, from you, Daddy. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. Stupid.
Like I have a pretty high tolerance for corny bullshit, but like this one really pushed me to the limit. Um, at some point, Zephron, formerly known as Zac Efron, shows up and he like becomes P.T. Barnum's partner, and like his parents are rich and racist, and I guess that's why he joins P.T. Barnum, and they become friends, and he becomes like the person who saves the thing in the end, but we'll get there. There's a bunch of shitty rich people who are various people's parents. They're the circus performers, right? You mentioned the bearded woman. There's Zendaya and her brother who do trapeze. Jenny Nicholson points out that there's two vaguely Asian men who are probably supposed to be conjoined twins, but at no point do they show them being like physically attached. They're just sort of standing next to each other all the time.
They're standing next to each other, or they have their arm around one another as if they're supposed to be CGI to be conjoined later, but then they just ran out of budget because they were too busy doing fucking elephants!
They had a substantial elephant budget, which is great, and I loved. Yeah, and then Zendaya has a relationship with Zac Efron, and it's
entirely
really...
telepathic.
Yeah, it's completely without conversation. It's great. They just exchange meaningful glances, and by the end they're like, she like waits at his bedside when he is hurt in the fire, and it's really stupid. shall we talk about the music in this alleged musical?
Um, we can. We we certainly can, Aaron. How did you feel about the music?
So, the one song that I knew from this show is
Mm-hmm.
the title song, The Greatest Show. And the reason that I know it is because of the virtual reality game Beat Saber, uh, um, which I had last year. I tried to use to help me get fit for my wedding when we were in lockdown. And I played The Greatest Show, the Panic version, not the Hugh Jackman version, on Beat Saber quite a lot. So I was very excited. I was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good song. And then we get fucking Hugh Jackman's like lifeless, poorly sound mixed, as you mentioned in your notes, version of this song, and I was like, oh, this show is gonna be a fucking disaster. I'm so ready for it.
The
Uh,
sound effects and the music are so loud, and the vocals aren't. Why? Hugh Jackman's not a bad singer, and the whole point of musicals is that the songs carry the story, you know? You have your intro song, which sets up the world, which, hey, The Greatest Show fucking doesn't. It doesn't set up the world at all. What does it do? Nothing. It's just there to be a reprise at the end. And then, of course, you have your I Want song, which never ends, which is Million Dreams. And then the rest of dare I say it, too many songs in this musical.
yeah, I think you're completely right, which is bizarre.
Right, you
Right,
never think you're gonna
like
say
what you
it.
said. Like the songs don't carry the story forward, right? Like the other side, which is the thing where he meets Zephron and they become partners, is just sort of a shitty devil take the hindmost, where it's just like, we're gonna strike a deal and it's gonna be a lot of bargaining and we're gonna do shots and it's gonna be a fun time and we're gonna negotiate. And like I guess it becomes plot relevant at the end, but like it doesn't really do anything. Never
No, it
enough.
doesn't.
The Jenny
Ugh.
Lind song is, Jenny Lind, whoever plays Jenny Lind is a great actress. Although, or singer, actually, Jenny Nicholson pointed out she does not actually sing. So the actress who does it doesn't actually sing the song, which is a choice. Um, but I think it was sung well. I think it's fine, but it's again a little bit on the nose. Um, because this is the part where P.T. Barnum gets obsessed with Jenny Lind and trying to win people's adoration and respect, and you know that's it's just a little bit. They think the audience is incredibly stupid, which is great. Um, this is me is we'll get to This Is Me and From Now On because those did actually work for me, which is unfortunate. Um, Rewrite the Stars is very much like, your parents are racist, and he's like, but I don't care. That's the Zephron Zendaya contractually obligated to have one song featuring the two other famous people in it. Again, that's the only thing that really sets up the romance, even though they don't really do any interactions outside of it. Um, the songs they're pretty disappointing in my opinion.
Well, the thing about the songs that drives me fucking nuts is that they all. Have you ever heard that song that is in a made-up language but is supposed to sound like English, and it sounds so much like English that you feel like you're having a little bit of a stroke when you're listening to it?
I haven't heard the song, but I've seen like videos like that.
Okay, there is a song. I'm pretty sure it's sung by like a German band. It is a nonsense language. It is supposed to sound like English, and it does. And you're sitting there, you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to understand this, but I don't. That is what this music feels like to me. Because for every fucking song, I could find you a mid-2000s pop equivalent. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, this sounds like a Mumford & Sons song. This sounds like a Katy Perry song. This sounds... Never Enough is an Adele song. The fact that Panic at the Disco even covered The Greatest Show just points out how much of a Panic at the Disco song it is. There was another song in there that I'm like, this sounds like that Brandy Carlisle, it's the song... It's not called Heart on Your Sleeve. I forget what it's called. It's a bop. I love that song. But, like, every time I heard a song in this show, I'm like, this sounds like a song I used to listen to in middle school, and it is killing me that now I can't name the song that is getting stuck in my head as a result of this other song I'm listening to. It was like, it was giving me a headache. There was a point in the movie, I'm pretty sure it was Rewrite the Stars, where I paused the movie and I'm like, Kelly Clarkson had to have had a duet power ballad, because there's a song at the tip of my fucking tongue that is this close to the surface that sounds exactly like Rewrite the Stars, and it's this like big female pop vocalist, and I literally took 7 minutes out of my life to research if Katy Perry or Kelly Clarkson had a duet, and they don't. And you know what the only thing that stopped me from continuing to dig was knowing that the longer I paused the movie, the more movie I still had to watch.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's freaking miserable. And Zephron, honestly, listen, the choreo is a whole different conversation. But my ass was so clenched during Rewrite the Stars because Zac Efron had no consideration for Zendaya's safety. He was just like jumping on the rope.
Yeah, just like messing with the counterweights, just like trying to throw her off her routine in like a romantic, passionate way, but also in a way that could have like snapped her spine in 8 places. Like, hey, bro, maybe don't mess with the trapeze artist while she's on the trapeze, sir.
Right, and the whole thing is like super VFX and like obviously there's like stunt doubles and body doubles and whatever. But you know, you're watching it and you're like, don't jump, and then he jumps and you're like, no. And you're distracted by that the whole time.
Yeah, like it was very harrowing just to watch them do this dance number that could have killed either of them at any moment.
Also, just what? Now I'm thinking about the choreography. There's a point in A Million Dreams, which is a ballad. It is a ballad. There is a point where, after they get married, Charity and fictional P.T. Barnum do this dance on this rooftop, and it's supposed to be romantic. But when the meter of the song is like, I don't know, 60 beats per minute, I'm guessing here, please don't fucking come for me. Why are we doing choreo in double time where we are running, sprinting across this rooftop, doing tosses, doing lifts, doing spins, doing aerials, doing sweeps? I'm like, this doesn't match the energy of the song at all. And this happens at almost every point in almost any song that has choreography. It doesn't match the song at all. At all.
That rooftop scene was so frenetic and like chaotic that it reminded me more of the first Sasuke Naruto fight on the roof of the hospital with all the sheets. That I was just like, I'm so distracted.
Fictional P.T. Barnum. I had this thought yesterday after I read your notes. I hate fictional P.T. Barnum more than I hate Sasuke.
That's pretty good, but also fair because Sasuke has a lot of flaws, but he didn't own slaves, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a step up.
And also, he only neglects one daughter, whereas P.T. Barnum neglects 2.
Yes, intensely. And his wife, which I mean, Sasuke also neglects his wife.
Yeah, I mean, but, Sasuke is an anti-wife guy, just like P.T. Barnum. I mean, I don't know. There's so many choices, and there's like weird narrative beats that did not make any sense. Like, okay, so they set up that like his whole motivation is to like get back at Charity's parents. Like at one point, like they're having a big fancy meeting. I think this is like right after the Jenny Lind concert or whatever, or whenever they're meeting the Queen or some shit. But like basically, he's just like, oh, you showed up to my show. My wife's parents who never approved of me. Isn't that something? Well, now I'm rich. Eat shit. And you know, she's like kind of embarrassed that he did that to her parents, but it's whatever. And like, I was kind of thinking, I was like, okay, at some point he's going to lose all his money, and that's going to be the lowest point. But like, I figured like, okay, maybe this would show like that they had learned something. Like maybe they would be like, okay, hey, you know what? You're a dick and you're kind of a weirdo, but you're right. You make our daughter happy. We're gonna help. We're gonna help you, and that's gonna resolve our conflict. Or like with Zephron's parents, right? Like they're gonna at first they were like being racist at Zendaya, but maybe at the end they would be like, okay, we can see how much this woman makes you happy, and you've become successful without us, so we're gonna help fund this circus thing or whatever. Um, that that just doesn't happen, right? There is no struggle. P.T. Barnum never has problems making money, except at the end. He's always just like, and then I was successful. Like, there's the part where he opens up his shitty museum of just like stuffed things, and like nobody comes to that. But that's like 2 days, and then he's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna recruit some randos, and now I'm gonna be instantly successful. Like the 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 character the story arcs are just like McDonald's. They just go up and down all over the place. It's astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the movie relies a lot on teleportation, which makes the plot points even worse somehow, because they were just like, let's go see the Queen of England, which, hey, my grandma called me during that scene. I have no idea why they went to see the Queen of England, because I refused to rewind. I refused. My grandma called me, I took the call while the movie was playing, and I would not rewind, and that's okay, because it's not like it made any more sense with the fucking audio that I was missing. Because They were just like, let's go see the Queen of England. Next, they're just in the hall.
Smash cut to Buckingham Palace. They're just there.
They're just there, just like in A Million Dreams. Smash cut. All of a sudden, the little boy is Hugh Jackman, and we're supposed to have somehow made the connection that the little boy was Hugh Jackman. They teleport all over the place. Even when Hugh Jackman goes to get his wife back at the end of the movie, he like hops on a train, but then smash cut, teleport, he's at the house. I'm like, bitch. What?
Sierra made the point that so like they've set up a point that when Hugh Jackman, I guess, first makes a lot of money, he buys a big mansion right next to Charity's parents' house. And when he goes to jump on this train, Sierra's like, why is he jumping on a train to go down the street? What the fuck are we doing here?
He's going into, like, a mountain range. Like, we are made to believe he's going across the country, but then he teleports anyway. Just like he teleports to the theater all the time. He teleports to the fucking, there's teleportation to the hospital. There's teleportation from just, like, scene to scene. I'm like, I was getting stressed out trying to puzzle together how much time, literally anything was taking. And it just, and like you brought up the parents. You know, he goes to get Charity back, and the dad opens the door, and he is just as much of a dick as he was before, if not worse. We never follow up with Zephron's parents. He just, like, becomes, spoiler, the owner of this carnival now. I'm like, nothing wraps up. No one learns anything. It's like, and the only reason Hugh Jackman even kind of learns anything is because of a giant plot hole wherein we don't ever see him having a conversation with his performers, and yet when his wife dumps him and he's broke because of Jenny Lind, which that was a whole fucking thing in and of itself, they come to cheer him up when he is drinking. What has this man ever done for you?
He locked you out of a fancy room.
What?
He pays you poorly to be made fun of in front of people.
2.
And he told the crowd that was about to murder you to please go away. Like, he's a bad person, and under no circumstances should you be going to cheer him up after he is ruined, except for the fact that I suspect if this sort of thing actually happened in real life, it would be because they need to get their money.
I mean, they even said that a couple of times. They're like, well, we can't afford for you to be normal now or something, whatever the fuck Letty said at the end. But, yeah, what the fuck are y'all doing cheering him up? So they go cheer him up, and he launches into, was it Never Again is the name of the last song?
It's From Now On, yeah.
Which, like you said, I'll give it this. From Now On works. From Now On works. It worked for me. I didn't like it. because I hated the movie and we were too late for me to have my own emotional arc wherein I turn
that
around and say
train done
something
left
nice.
the sestation, just like P.T. Barnum.
Just like P.T. Barnum's train went into the mountains, I was in the mountains. And it just, that song works, but like he didn't learn anything. He was just told that these were his flaws, and he goes, "Oh no, these are my flaws. From now on, fuck you! What did you learn? Nothing. Not a thing. Not
Didn't
a
learn
thing."
Shit. There is... Before we get to the part where I'm ashamed of myself, we should also probably address the fact that this movie technically addresses issues of racism and ableism. But because it's like a semi-Disney property, it hints at it, but it never states outright, like, oh. Real quick, though, what year do you think this is taking place in? Or do you know the answer?
It's like mid-19th century, right? Like 1840s?
Yeah, it's 1852, according to Jenny Nicholson. So, like, pre-Civil War, pre-U.S. Civil War. So you're living in a profoundly racist society. And, like, the whole problem with Zendaya and Zephron's quote-unquote relationship is that his parents don't approve because she is black and he is white, and that they look down upon that. But they don't ever... They're not like, oh, hey, black people can't come to the theater, or like, hey... it's illegal for black people and white people to get married, which, like, I actually don't know the history of miscegenation laws as well as I would like. I suspect they're actually probably post-Civil War. So maybe that was legal back in the day, but, like, they never say outright, like, oh, we don't want black people and disabled people here. His parents are just like, oh, you have no shame going out with the help, and it's just like, okay, like, and like your parents are supposed to like divine, like, okay, that obviously is a euphemism for racism, and that's why Zephron and Zendaya aren't supposed to be together in this society. But like, if you're a kid, which I suspect this show is primarily aimed towards, if you're like somebody who has not thought a whole lot about the history of racial relations in the 19th century in America, you're probably going to be like, wait, why don't they like her? I don't understand. And like, it's, I don't know. They never resolve it. It's just like the parents never come back, which I guess is fine. Like the only like, the only way they address ableism is when the best scene in the movie where the racists attack the theater and all the performers beat the fuck out of them because you should not get in a fight with somebody who is an acrobat. But like, they don't ever talk about, the weird ways in which P.T. Barnum definitely abused and exploited his workers, which, like, it's a kids movie. They're not going to. But like, they don't really address why people don't like them besides the fact that the bearded lady has a beard. And like, the Zendaya and her brother, they just say they won't like it if you put us up there. They don't explain why. They just say that. It's bad. It's so bad.
But that's the thing, too, right? Like, so... This movie rides on the implication that our society isn't changed enough that you could make these things obvious without explaining them, especially to a younger audience, right? Especially the bearded lady thing, where it's like, he opens the thing, it's like, oh, she has a beard. It's like, okay, but we live in a world where kids are more exposed to non-traditional gender presentation. Like, you need to say, oh no, a bearded lady. It needs to happen. You need to say it, but not in a way that implies that bearded ladies are bad. just in a way that implies it's an abnormality for this time period, which is what normally you would use the fucking opening number for. But what did they do? They didn't set up the fact that the world is about normies. If y'all were gonna rip off music, why didn't you just rip off the opening number from Beauty and the Beast, which did what this opening number should have done, which is to say, "Oh, bonjour, look at all these fucking normies running around everywhere. You know what we don't like in this town? Freaks! Boom! I fixed your movie, Disney! Like, you've already done it, Disney. What the fuck are you playing at with this Panic at the Disco-ass bullshit with the sloppy choreography and the fucking CGI elephants? I don't understand it. This is so sloppy from toe to tip. And I just couldn't take my eyes off the cheap velvet on his lapels!
Okay.
Aaron,
Sorry.
Like his motion picture.
Sorry, you said that Abel called all the townspeople normies, and then I blacked out.
I meant that, whatever it is. No, she didn't call them normies, but the whole song was about the fact that they're normies, and oh, Belle's weird because she reads. The movie came out in the 90s. Everyone, the literacy rates are much higher than they were in the kind of like vague time period that this movie takes place in. Girls reading isn't weird. That song points out that in this society, it's weird. Just like it should have introduced all of the performers we were going to meet in their respective settings before P.T. Barnum got to them. And then, you know what? Fuck it. Another thing.
Oh, God.
I hate this shit. If you were gonna make a fucking movie that is quote-unquote about fictional P.T. Barnum, why would you use this real thing that happened? You could have made a movie about, people with deformities or quote-unquote freaks finding community in a circus. You could have done that, and you didn't have to use P.T. Barnum. In fact, you could have used Zephron. You could have even used Hugh Jackman. You could have made a different character that was like fictional P.T. Barnum, but wasn't actual fictional P.T. Barnum. This is the same beef I have with that fucking Anastasia Broadway adaptation where they were like, hey, we know this revisionist-ass movie is already historically inaccurate, but what if we, did a 180 and made this revisionist-ass movie even more about the revolution? Why? Just make a musical about the revolution. Why do you need to do this with a person who existed and died as a child? I do not understand. Have we forgotten how to make up fictional people? I can make up a fictional person right now. Like, here's this roll of tape. I'm going to say this roll of tape combined with this Isaac Mizrahi Loves Revlon case. This is now David. David is he was a mushroom spirit that got kicked out of his home and is now occupying my fucking house because I had a plant that had a fungus in it. Okay? This is what we're gonna do. Here, I just made up a new person. Fucking, it's not hard. Just do it. Why are we doing this? I'm so angry. Make something new. Anything new. I'm begging here. I'm on hands and knees. Figuratively. I can't be on my knees. My knees hurt. I'm old. But, I hate this.
So, after Leyla had that break from reality, I would like to talk about... talk about the part where the movie made me cry.
Oh, no.
So, I'm a bad person. We should start with that. I generally like some media which other people would call shitty. I love Linkin Park very much, and Imagine Dragons, as we've covered.
No, we're not going to talk shit about Linkin Park on this podcast. We love Linkin Park on this podcast.
There we go. Hell yeah, this is why we're friends. But other people would probably say that some of the stuff I like is bad. And that is, in my willingness to tolerate bad stuff is in no other place clearer than here, when both From Now On and the whole just end of the musical did make me a little teary. And I need to, I guess, defend myself. Let's start from Now On. Basically, as we've established throughout this whole conversation, the whole premise of this show is bunked from the beginning because it shows constantly P.T. Barnum mistreating and neglecting and exploiting his workers who are minorities, both racial and because of their disability. Um, but just seeing a group of marginalized folks in a bar having fun after, almost a year of not being able to be together with people and have a good time in one space, like that kind of got to me. And I was like, you know what? I wish that like this was, a thing that we could actually do safely now. Just like have a good time with some people who, you know, are down on their luck, but found family is a great trope, and it's nice to watch people celebrate each other, and that got me a little bit.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, same. I've been in isolation forever, and watching that party scene did make me a little emotional. Didn't erase the other bad feelings I was having, but I feel you.
yeah, yeah. Um, the second part was just like sort of the general end where P.T. Barnum has his reconciliation. He's like, okay, I get it. I went all in on Jenny Lind, and she tried to make my wife think that I cheated on her, even though, and I definitely wanted to, but I didn't. And that's the whole thing is about me coming back to my family, being happy with what we've got, which happens to be a lot of money. And he goes to his daughter's ballet performance, and one of them is like a prima ballerina, and the other at 7 years old, and she's great, and his other daughter is a tree, which is the only good joke in that movie. um that was nice. But like in general, like the rest of the night, I was just like, oh, Sierra, I want you to know that I appreciate you and care about you, uh largely because we just watched this movie about a man who wholly neglects his family, and doesn't do anything right, and it made me very worried about the state of my own marriage. And I was like, is that me? Is this person I'm supposed to empathize with me, and I'm doing this unconsciously to my wife of we're gonna have been together for 10 years in February. Is that am I doing a PT Barnum? And I was just like, I just want you to know I care about you. Not like PT Barnum, who doesn't care about his wife, who he allegedly courted for a decade. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I got emotional during this movie, because I'm easily emotionally manipulated.
No, that's completely fair. Listen, I'm not gonna deny you your beautiful tears. We're here to feel things. That's okay. Like I said, the party scene did get me a little bit because I too wish to be at a party. I would love to be at a party. I would give anything to be in a house with more than 6 people that I know, with, I don't know, alcohol and good time and jokes, ambiance, food, party things. I would love that for myself. Because the closest thing I've had to that experience in the last year and a half has been the election and New Year's when we played Jackbox games.
Yup. Same.
That's been
Yeah.
it. Which, by the way, we do need to play Talking Points again. That was delightful. But
That ruled, yeah.
yeah, listen, that's fair. I get that. I do. It's fine. I was teleported into a theater from 2012 and 2019 respectively, where I paid to watch The Great Gatsby and Aladdin, and time ceased. Time slowed to just a irreparable crawl, just a sluggish fucking wasteland of me getting so angry and nitpicky that I started to get mad about the color blue of the scarf that Charity was wearing in the reconciliation scene because it looked bad against the sunset. That's the fucking state of mind I was in.
Great. I'm glad we managed to watch this movie in a healthy and normal way.
Absolutely, yeah. A completely normal reaction to have to a film. I haven't been trapped inside my house for 11 months at all.
Yeah, it's great and good.
We did great.
Oh gosh, do you have any other points you want to hit?
No, I want you to address the sequel.
Yeah, so I think we probably dodged a bullet, thanks to Disney. Listen, I think we're both pretty anti-monopoly here, but like Disney did buy 20th Century Fox. Um, so like apparently the distribution company was owned by 20th Century Fox, and like I think Disney recognizes that like I don't know, this film, I mean this film made a fuck ton of money though is the thing, right? It had a budget of 85 million and I think they made 435 million. So like it was an astonishing success. So like I'm not saying that the sequel is dead because of Disney's purchasing of Fox. I am hoping that is the case, but like the mouse, and the mouse loves a sequel.
If there is a sequel, the only way I'm watching it is in a post-vaccine world where I drive my ass to like a halfway point between New York and Indiana, and we find a matinee for $2 and watch it together and scream at the screen the whole time. That is the only way.
I mean,
My
I don't know.
eyeballs will touch that phone.
Sierra was saying like, "Oh, hey, it's 8 hours from where we live to Buffalo. Like that's doable. We could. That's a 4 hour trip. I mean,
Is that how we're gonna watch King Kong versus Godzilla?
it might be. We might just take a road trip.
In a post-vaccine world, hell yeah!
Yeah, you know what? Just the border of Ohio and I guess West Virginia, or what's north of West Virginia?
That's very south.
I don't know.
Somewhere in Ohio, I'm guessing. Would be
Probably in Ohio, yeah.
Cleveland.
You know what?
Cleveland is 4 hours from.
Maybe I'll see you in Cleveland and we can watch King Kong punch Godzilla.
Me, you, and Travis McElroy.
Hell yeah, that's the dream team. I'll at him. We'll see if we can get something set up.
He would
good
too.
gravy.
He's chaotic enough.
Yeah,
But,
he might do that. He's a wild man.
we're like, hey, we're not inviting you, but if you were to be there,
it'd be sick.
It'd be
We're fellow
so
podcasters, so I think it'd be a good opportunity for you. To like promote your brand.
yeah. We'll do a promo for promo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, listen, I deserved this after some of the shit I put you through. I'm not gonna say I didn't. That's probably my first thought after finishing this motion picture was, I deserve this. But by God, holy hell, Hugh Jackman deserves better musicals. Somebody go write a better musical for Hugh Jackman, please.
Please, he's a sweet man. He deserves much better than this trash. Yeah. We tend to like try to watch stuff that we enjoy and like to on this podcast. This is a podcast about celebrating things that we hope the other will like. But sometimes we just gotta get in that mud and roll around in it with the CGI elephants.
Sometimes you just need like a Hugh Jackman picking up his daughter on a CGI elephant to really just.
He took the elephant home to pick his kids up from school.
So much. It's so much.
So good.
Yay.
Leyla, what are we doing next week?
I'm pretty sure we're doing Age of Calamity.
Okay.
The new Legend of Zelda game. Well, new-esque. The newest. The most recent.
Yep, I was working on that this weekend, so I should have it done. I also finished Grease this weekend, so we'll talk about that in a while.
I love Grease. Grease, not like the 50s musical Grease, as in GRIS, which is a platform.
Yeah, important clarification.
Is a platformer, a very beautiful platformer that we recommend. That I recommend at least. But yes, it's that's what we're doing next week. Aaron, where can people find you?
You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL. You can also find my other podcast at MBF and me. I think our final episode of the Narnia trilogy should be going up soon. The Dawn Treader was a really bad movie, but also we get some incredible revelations about my co-hosts, which is really funny. So I would recommend you check that out. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at LEYLSES on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. I write essays and have a webcomic. I will get back to those things soon. As I said last week, taking it a day at a time over here. We've had an insurrection, and, it takes a while to piece your life back together after you have a couple panic attacks about that.
Absolutely. Also, our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Normally we close out our episodes with a quote from the media we consume. If you could, in lieu of hearing a closer quote, just leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever YouTube, whatever platform you find us on, that just says, "This is the greatest show," we would appreciate it. But this has been talking with you has been fun. So I'm glad we've done this. But audience, we'll see you all next time.